Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Alexander Link. I am the national contact person for the IraSME program in Luxembourg, and I work as an advisor at the Luxembourg Innovation Agency, which is called Lux Innovation. Let's start with the most important at first. With regard to the funding provided in the frame of the IraSME program, there's a clear separation in terms of roles between Lux Innovation and the Ministry of the Economy. So the ministry is in charge of the funding and the evaluation of the state applications, while Lux Innovation acts as a national coordinator for the operational activities related to IraSME program. This includes also supporting the companies in the national application process. Now, which entities are actually eligible for funding in the frame of the IraSME program? As a general rule, this can only be companies registered in Luxembourg. They must not represent an undertaking in difficulty, meaning that the share capital, including share premium, of those companies has decreased by more than 50% due to accumulated losses. No, so what they must demonstrate instead is a financial viability with regard to their contribution in the frame of the project. And they should moreover demonstrate that the project outcome will have a positive impact on the company's growth and its future assets. Very important to mention, the Ministry of the Economy does not fund research institutes nor universities. Those are not eligible for funding in the frame of the IraSME program in Luxembourg. What does the decision process look like at national level? In order to prepare the companies at best, what we do recommend is getting in contact with Lux Innovation at least 1 month before the deadline of the IraSME call. During this time, we can support the company in preparing a sound application. Once the deadline has been reached, there's a synchronized application process which requires that both the IraSME application and the national application are submitted simultaneously, so one to the IraSME office and the other one to the Ministry of the Economy. It is also critical that no binding commitment is done before the application is submitted to the ministry. Otherwise, the state aid would lose its incentive effect and the application would be declared as not valid. After submission, the ministry will launch the instruction phase, which ends by an evaluation of a state aid commission and eventually by a funding decision by the Minister of Economy and the Minister of Finance. Grant payments can be done in several slices during the project and afterwards. Now, since Lux Innovation does not intervene in the formal evaluation and decision process, it might be useful to explain what we are. Lux Innovation is a public-private partnership whose main shareholder is the Ministry of the Economy, but we do also act on behalf of the Ministry of Higher Education and Research, such as in programs related to the European Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, for instance, in terms of prospection activities, the Chamber of Skilled Crafts with dedicated programs for SMEs, and also the Federation of Luxembourg Industries. How are we structured internally? There are basically 3 pillars. One dedicated to company and relation support, which includes sectorial experts whose objective consists in setting up partnerships, flagship projects, and innovation performance programs. Another one dedicated to business development, which includes market intelligence, startup support, as well as promotion and prospection activities. And there is also one pillar dedicated to the funding programs provided at national and European level. I myself am part of the corporate R&D and innovation support team. So what do we do in our team? We are basically at the service of the companies. As such, this requires in the first place that we understand their needs and that we get a sound understanding of the strategy and their corporate structuration. Based on that, we can help companies in the definition of project scope and assess also their funding need. We can then identify the most suitable funding schemes and eventually coach them with experts from our 3 pillars in order to get them to submit a strong application to the Ministry of the Economy. So what is the basis of the funding provided in the frame of the IraSME program? In Luxembourg, it is the so-called RDI law of the 17th of May 2017, which enables the Ministry of the Economy to provide subsidies to companies which carry out R&D and innovation activities. The particularity of Luxembourg is that we have an innovation fund which adapts to the needs of the project. As such, there's no call for project as it might be the case in other countries. The Ministry of the Economy provides an individual assessment for each project, while Lux Innovation on the other side provides tailor-made support to help the companies meet the admission criteria. Now, there are several evaluation criteria to be taken into account when submitting a state aid application to the Ministry of the Economy. Besides innovation, meaning that the solution should go beyond the state of the art, there are 2 main criteria which should be taken into consideration: co-financing capacity on the one side, economic impact on the other one. It is important to understand that when assessing the co-financing capacity, the ministry does not only look at the project funding need, but really at the global funding need of the company. And depending on that need, different funding sources such as capital increase, bank loans, or free cash flows might be taken into consideration. The other important criteria regards the creation of substance in Luxembourg. So the project should ideally enable the company to grow, and therefore the project results should also be exploited from Luxembourg. Now that we have mentioned the different evaluation criteria of the Ministry of the Economy, let's just quickly go through the state aids which are actually used in the frame of the IraSME program. As you can see on this slide, the RDI law encompasses many different aid schemes which have different purposes. In the frame of the IraSME program, the R&D aid schemes are being used. As you can see on this slide, the R&D aid rates depend on the size of the company and also on the technological readiness levels. Since the IraSME program is targeting projects with a market deployment within 24 months after project termination, the used aid scheme is generally the experimental development one. Thanks to the IraSME program, which requires an effective collaboration between at least 2 partners from 2 different countries, a top-up of 15% is applied to these aid rates, which would therefore vary then between 40% for large companies and 60% for small companies. It can also be said that depending on the type of activities realized in the frame of the projects, there might be some parts related to industrial research. What are the eligible costs? So in this slide, you get a clear view of what is eligible and what is not. As a general rule, all development activities necessary to the implementation of the project will be eligible. This does not include sales and marketing, management, or commercialization costs. Since setting up an effective collaboration is of particular interest in the frame of the IraSME program, I would also like to highlight how Lux Innovation can help companies in the setup of collaborative projects. This can be with research institutes or SMEs in Luxembourg or abroad. We provide support in the definition of the collaboration terms, mainly to confirm that an effective collaboration is actually being put in place. When submitting an application form at national level, companies are required to also submit a draft version of the collaboration agreement, and there it is critical not to sign the agreement before the application has been submitted to the Ministry of the Economy. Should the effective collaboration be true, then the company will benefit from the 15% top-up on the state aid rate, as mentioned in the previous slide. Let's now get to the last slide. Since Luxembourg joined the IraSME program, we have been able to monitor many different IraSME applications. Those which were launched successfully were based on balanced partnerships and could also demonstrate that there was a mutual benefit. This usually means that there is also a sound exploitation plan for all consortium partners. Those projects which could not be funded were either one-shot projects, which appeared more like subcontracting than effective collaboration between two or more partners, or the companies did actually not have the necessary resources to carry out and exploit the project results. As such, in order to save energies, but most importantly, in order to help companies in their innovation endeavors, please bear in mind that we are there for you. There are many ways in which we can support companies, be it by challenging the business case in order to make it stronger, or by helping companies to structure projects and find adequate competences both in Luxembourg and abroad. Therefore, if you are planning to submit an IraSME project, please do get in contact with us as early as possible. It will be our pleasure to support your innovation supports.